I'm Charlotte. My background is basically I'm a property manager. I run my own company based in South London. I just wanted to chat today about the joys and the struggles of homeschooling. I've got two children, two daughters who are they've been years 5 and 6 during lockdown, and then 8 and 9. So although the year 6 child is obviously fairly critical this year, she's had to do her 11 plus exam, etc. The older one, thankfully, it's not such a crucial year. It's not an exam year for her, so we've been quite lucky. But with all changes in society and with all the changes with COVID and lockdown, etc., it has brought to attention struggles and issues actually that many other people may also be experiencing during the lockdown period. And just wanted to sort of raise some ideas about that and just the things that we've been through and how we've coped with it, really. And hopefully that might shed some light for other people. It might trigger some ideas for other people as well. So so it's just really chat about that. So as I say, our two daughters, they're quite chalk and cheese. Our older one is quite self-sufficient. She's fairly academic, and she's quite capable of getting on and doing work on her own. She's quite focused in that respect. But we did see, unfortunately, with our younger one, she quite dramatically started to slump actually towards the end of her summer term for year 5, in that she wasn't focused. She was struggling, I think, quite badly emotionally, and which obviously had the knock-on effect of not being able to cope academically as well. She was struggling academically. She wasn't focused. She lost concentration. And it was because we were down in lockdown for quite a long time. It felt like it kind of went on. It was quite sort of small incremental changes in her personality and in her emotionally and mentally, and she was definitely struggling. So actually what we did was we spoke to her school, because at that point in time as well, they weren't having any Zoom meetings. There was no interaction on any of their classes, etc. And so we actually contacted her school and said, can you explain to us how she works? She's not seeing anybody. She's not getting any lessons online. How do they normally work in the classroom? And sort of discovered that actually they do a lot of interactive work at school. They work in pairs, they work in small groups, they'll work as a class, they'll work on projects or ideas. It's much more interactive than perhaps you'd even consider. And so from that, we sort of asked if it would be okay if we organised small group meetings or one-to-ones on Zoom with one or two of her friends, just to try and see if that would help, because we were constantly having to chivvy her along, lots of poking and prodding and keeping her focused, away with the fairies. So, which is a struggle for us because we're all working from home. So my husband works from home, I work from home, older daughter's here, we're all tag teaming different devices, who can be on which at which point in time and who's got a meeting or whatever. So, it's a real struggle. I mean, we're in a privileged position that we've got enough devices that people could get on them most of the time. And I appreciate that not many people are in the same position. So in that respect, I can't really feel sorry for us. But, I'm sort of explaining this so that hopefully if other people are feeling that they're in a quandary and they don't know what to do, this was just one idea that we sort of recognised and dealt with and hopefully sort of came up with. So we just set up little meetings with her so that she could do an online a Zoom meeting with one of her friends, and they worked together on the same piece of work online. And then she would, do more of that. And then thankfully they went back for the autumn term, which was a huge uplift. Although they were in their year bubbles and their class bubbles, at least they were in the classroom and they were interacting, they were seeing their friends. And automatically, straight away, you saw a huge uplift back in her personality, in her concentration, her it took a bit of time, but her academic level was coming back up again. And of course, now we get past Christmas and we're back in the same position. So we've been, and thankfully the school, I think, has recognised some of that to a certain extent as well. And they've managed to do more Zoom lessons for the classes. So I think they have 1 or 2, and they've got pre-recorded lessons online. So they listen in and they've actually got somebody that they're watching. But also a couple of other things that we've put in place were, as well as sort of having the Zoom lessons with their friends, is actually try and encourage her to go out after school, or in the sort of mid-late afternoon, and go and catch up with a friend and just go for a walk. And also the other thing that they used to do at school, which we realised, was they did a 10-minute run every day. So we're very, very into sport, both myself and my husband, and our older daughter as well. And she was too, prior to the lockdown. So we also decided that, and we've started it in this period of lockdown, is that my husband and I take it in turns to take her and one other of her friends out for a run every morning. So on their break, they don't get a break, they come running with us, well, plodding. And so they do like 1.5 to 2 Ks each every morning. So about 10 to 15 minutes, we're out, with the other millions of people walking around Wandsworth and Clapham Commons, which is also good because the entire time I'm ahead of them, so I'm out of the way a bit, and but sort of beckoning them on, trying to encourage them. All I can hear is them yapping in the background, chatting away. I'm thinking, I don't know how they do that because I can't breathe, but I'm glad that they get out. They get the exercise, which is another good thing for their mental health and physical health as well, because they're all sat in front of screens the whole time. They're not moving around in the classroom. It's a very different sort of environment to be in that they're not used to, or that's different from what is the norm. So they're not out at playtime playing, burning off energy. That as well, we noticed the sleep pattern was awful. So they were going to bed very late because they weren't physically tired enough. They're getting up late in the morning, often grumpy. So, that was another reason that we wanted them to get out, get fresh air, do some sport, do some exercise, and see their friends. And I have to say, it's definitely improved. So, if I think those were the main things that we sort of identified, particularly within our own situation, and it's not the same for everybody's. But it might just trigger a few things that people could do that, it might click, oh my God, yes, I see, little Johnny or, whoever, their child having sort of similar issues. And hopefully it might just sort of trigger something that they could do to alleviate those as well. So, yeah, hopefully that goes to help some people somewhere. Even if it helps one, that's good. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that.